Yeah, welcome to Academy of Tone 128, and today we have the second part of our Echo Extravaganza Part 2, and I had a nice little surprise weekend with my dear friends and visiting Deep Purple in Luxembourg. Maybe you have seen my Facebook posts. And Jefferson Starship Jude Gold. Like a double show, which was killer because Jude is he was here at the Academy of Tone. He's an amp1 user with Jefferson Starship. He's from Los Angeles. Yeah, and here you can see the pictures. Rock Hall, Luxembourg, his pedalboard, his amp1 Mercury edition, his setup. So we had a great hang. And then while being on stage, I was meeting my friend here, Don Airy. He gave me that nice CD here, to Thomas, from your old mate, Don. And this CD is something special. It's a piano solo record by Don, who is, of course, not only a great piano player, he's Mr. Organ King. When you play in Deep Purple, you need to be the Hammond guy. So he has the real deal Hammond organ, and he has, his solo CDs. He has done several solo CDs, but this is the last one with grand piano only. And also synthesizer, he is killer. We have a clip that I want to show you later. But before we go into things, I have to play you one of the tracks from this album here, which is kind of killer. That happens if you are a keyboard player in a world-class band that is still kind of a little bit under-challenged. And, okay. Listen to this just for fun. and so on. You know, I think this track is called Bach on the Water. I would call it Smoke on the Bach for the Germans. And this is kind of improvisation that he comes up with, you know, based on a theme. This guy is incredible, unbelievable. I mean, we played together years ago, and actually he wanted to join my band once. So yeah, killer player. I'm a huge fan of his, and he comes to the soundcheck and he spends half an hour on the big stage checking all his keyboards and, you know, warming up and checking that the synths are right, that the piano is right, that his fingers are working fine. And, you know, a real deal musician. So if you want to have some deep shit by a great piano playing, you know, Don Airy. The other thing I can mention is Deep Purple has a new guitar player. Maybe you know, maybe you don't. So in the big footsteps of course, Ritchie Blackmore, there was once Joe Satriani for a few gigs, but before that was the American guy that on Stratus. What is the... Oh, my names. Anyway, Tommy Bolin, then Steve Morse for 28 years. And Steve Morse left the band because his wife is sick, having cancer, so he's taking care of her, and he had to leave the band for private reasons, which is fully understandable. And yeah, so there's a new guy, Simon McBride, who has a big job there, being in one of the most iconic rock bands, and I think he has done a pretty good job. I was always the biggest fan of Ritchie Blackmore, but nobody can be Ritchie Blackmore. That's impossible. And so everybody has to do his own thing. And Steve Morse was changing the style of the band already a little bit. And Simon is kind of bringing Steve Morse a little bit back. Yeah. So yeah, check it out. He's doing a good job for what it is. Of course, I would have things that I would always try to make slightly different, but this is my personal taste, and whatever. Still tons of respect. So Simon McBride, the new guitar player in Deep Purple. And yeah, it was great hang. Yeah, we were backstage, and Don came over to the dressing room of Jefferson Starship, and we all hang out there. Yeah, cool. So exciting times on, when was it? Last Sunday, Luxembourg. Any love your Blackmore? Yeah, okay. I love Blackmore. So Smoke on the Fugue in G minor. Yeah. And what I like. I mean, you can go crazy with a theme like that on, you know, rhythmic stuff like this, having whatever, 7, 8 or 9. I don't even know how to count stuff like that. The piano needs more gain. Yeah, there's something about more gain. Yeah. Yeah, so I started the whole thing with the Replex. Oh, sorry. Which is this little toy here. And in today's episode, I would like to compare a bunch of other echoes. We have, I repaired the Copycat, which is this one here from last episode. Oh, wait a minute, let's get the whole thing off here. And I got another Copycat, which is a bit older with tube preamp. So that's another one. And then here's another comparison we can do, which is the Echoplex here. The Maestro Echoplex here is from the 70s. It's not a tube one, it's a transistor one. But we have the Fulltone tube tape echo, which is a kind of Echoplex EP1 or 2, which means the tube. This is a real tube. And of course, it's a new, it is the real deal, having tape and having tubes and having the motor. So it's the old technology, but it's a new unit, maybe 5 years old or something like this. Fantastic, very good quality. We will listen this in a second. Thanks to Björn. I got this from a friend of mine called Björn. He lent this to me here. Yeah, and then we can compare this versus the Replex, which is kind of a similar thing. So then here in the corner is another Japanese Super Echo from Evans. I got my Dynacord here. Too many choices, and I spent the day analyzing these echoes. Since we are working on MX, and we have to think about what do we really need to get a tape echo. So it's good to get a picture of what's actually happening with these units. And there's a few things that I have learned. But we will find out together, because I simply play a little bit, and then we can listen, and then it's kind of obvious things, what's important and what is not so important. Okay, let me get this out of the way. Trying. Okay, no backing tracks today. Okay, done. The whole setup is so complex and messy by now. I found out that even the Quartermaster switcher from the gig rig here, which is giving me true bypass loops, is not somehow clean enough, or the separation is not good enough when I have all the echoes in there. I mean, this is kind of the weirdest setup anyway, with all the power supplies from the pedals, and then the individual power supplies built into the tube units. There's tons of things going on which which is not 100% pristine signal. Therefore, I was using the guitar straight into the Replex, straight into amp 1. That's it. And I didn't have the DD2 on. You know, there's nothing in the effects loop, so it's disconnected. It's only pre-delays what we are hearing. You know what? I show you the thing that I usually do with my Replex, and there's a few aspects that we will find later on why I love my Replex so much. So this is the vintage channel with the reverb. Okay, that's my sound. You know, volume low, clean, and then I crank it. So this was on bypass. I use now the tube preamp, and there's actually a reverb function which is on 0, so I only have the tube preamp. That's something that we learned already in last episode. The preamp is part of the tone. So check this out. Bypass. So this kind of preamp is very similar to the Fulltone, I will show you in a minute. Gives me the extra body frequencies that a Strat can handle, that kind of turns a Strat into a Les Paulish kind of animal. It makes the guitar bigger. It's not only the level, I can reduce the level, so it's 1-to-1. Wait a minute. And this is what I found with most of the tube units. We will listen in a second when I compare them, that the tube units have this kind of extra, you know, throaty tone. And that's the first thing that got me with the original tube Echoplex. The one that we have here is only transistor, but we had one of those back in the days when we designed this Replex. Okay, next thing is the echo itself, and this is, listen to the... Okay, this thing here is called vintage factor, and that's a combination of all the goodness that happens on tape echoes, which is the tape flutter. It's also the tape saturation, and it is changing the frequencies. So this is all coming with this unit. So, and in this combination you can hear that it's already noisy. Well, because I use this in front of an overdriven amp, and that's my thing. So, but what I do most of the time is I don't have the echo volume not that high. So it is kind of, this was maximum, what we just heard. But with this is kind of, so this way I still have the dry signal louder than the repeats. And then when I stop playing, there's still some musical signal, especially when it's in time. It's magic. I love that. Okay, that's my and especially when I play like in a 3-piece or when I do my instrumental music. Yeah. So when you see me diving on stage, it's always the volume of that replex that I adjust to have the perfect kind of source and scenario surrounding, echo scenario surrounding me versus the dry signal. So that kind of parameter will end up on a expression pedal one day on the Amp X, so I can play and then blend in the echo as much as I want it. Because to me, this makes the sound of my guitar heavenly. It is the extra dimension. It's more than just a rock tone. It becomes as wide as an orchestra. So I can play 3-piece and nothing is missing. Okay, so that's my recipe. Now let's go for some A/B testing. I will bring the signal path in a different order. So the guitar goes into the switcher. Then we have, this will be the input. That will be the output. Oops. That will be, sorry. This will be the output of. So see, we have some feedback scheiße coming. What is it? Okay, anyway, so. That is the replex through the switcher. And now I can, for instance, have the Fulltone tube tape echo. And this, we can A/B that. Which one is this? This goes into the switcher number 7. Okay, bingo. So this is the Fulltone, and I think it's really, really good. So what we hear with the Fulltone is a little bit of the tape flutter. Yeah, it has this kind of eternity sound. I don't know what how to call it. And let me have more repeats, like self-oscillating on the edge, like. So, sounds killer. Now, the Replex again. So there's even more tape flutter, because this was kind of a copy of an Echoplex, an old tube Echoplex, which was worn even more. For fun, we can have this one. Wait a minute. And see if we have repeats. Okay, let's see. This one is on 8. Okay, wait a minute. I mean, the tape just started. This thing is whatever, 30, 40 years old. And the mechanics. I tried to get here my Vox Echo working this morning. I had everything. I had extra Vaseline lubricant to get the stuff going, and it goes like all over the place. But I measured the preamp, and there's a magic about this preamp because it has a spaghetti tone. I would call it a spaghetti tone. The instant Hank Marvin, whatever you plug into this thing here. But forget about the echo itself, the mechanics. You know, the rubber is getting stiff, and then I was cleaning and editing the tape. Oh fuck! As you can hear, it is nothing. It takes so much maintenance to get the units working properly. Yeah, I'm just learning from the units as a reference, but I'm not using those anymore. Okay. Back to the Echoplex. Maybe it's warm now. Let's. It even stopped. See, this is the thing. I had the same shit last time with the Watkins Copycat. When I tried to play Apache shortly before the show, I had a killer tone, and then I tried something else, and 10 minutes later it sounded so horrible. You know what? Let's try the Watkins then. This one is on 6, so we have to be quick to make sure that we get the sweet spot while they are getting. See? This sounds like wet only. Guessing how to make this, because there's another socket here. Or wait a minute, there's this socket and this socket. Oh no, this is the power cord. This is maybe I need a Klinkenkabel. Wait a minute, do we have one more somewhere? Ah, here, west. Just checking this cable. It might be broken, or maybe not. Let's see. No, it works. Okay, then in this case, I'll try this one. Into this one, and then into that one. And this goes back into here. Any good? Sounds pretty good, huh? So, okay, let's try the tube version. And I have hooked this up to the loop number 4. So 6 versus 4. Copycat versus the transistor one. let's switch them off to save tape and mechanics. Wait a minute, where is it? Here. Okay, I hope you could hear the difference in the transistor preamp, the solid state preamp, and the tube preamp. I mean, this time the cliche is right. The tube sounds so much warmer. And when measuring the preamps, it is not even the frequency response curve. That's not the case. It's not like there's a lot of high end missing and this has a... No, it is actually the way this thing is clipping, and it's clipping even at lower signals. So warmth, that's the thing that you can hear. From the usability, maybe the tape is too old and the repeats are a little bit muddy. But yeah, so I kind of prefer this as the overall echo, but there's some magic about the tube preamp in this Watkins Copicat, this tube version. Okay, another kind of aspect when it comes to tape echoes. The preamp is so important. I show you something which is not tube, which is the Hall & Collins signature echo here. Wait a minute. Preset 1, I think, was Apache. So this is like crazy digital. The Stranger Apache, here we go. So, and this one I think is on 3. Yeah. The heads, these multi-heads that we see here, these are, you know, there is like a erase head, and then there's erase, and there's playback heads. in the Copycat there are 3. You can switch on the hollow head, which is the first one, the echo head, which is the second one, and the rapid head, which is the third one. And I had all the 3. And here you can also hear like a very strange pattern of repeats. And this is coming from separate heads. And this is from Hank Marvin's Echomatic. And these guys, Hall and Collins, they spent a lot of time to analyze the tape echoes in the respect of what kind of special distances are being used with the songs. Because the Watkins, for example, there is no speed. There is just one speed, and so the tempo is kind of fixed, and you only can choose a combination of heads, and that's all there is. There is no time. There is just a closer head, which gives you a shorter delay, a medium, and a long. And that's all there is. And these guys analyzed pretty accurately what was going on in the songs, how Hank Marvin was using these his delays and what kind of repeats there were. So yeah, there's some Echomatic. Unfortunately, I don't have an Echomatic here, which seems to be the super holy grail of tape echoes. Yeah, here we have a picture, and this is the so-called drum. It's not even a tape. It is a drum that rotates with a special wire that is magnetized And here you can see you can even move the heads slightly. This is kind of a secret weapon for the Hank Marvin stuff. It's slightly different, and this is what the Hall and Collins guys have actually done with their signature delay. Yeah, and there's one thing I want to draw your attention to. They have a control here. It's the Wow Flutter control. Wait a minute. Can the camera see it? This one. Wait a minute. Here, I point with the guitar. Wow Flutter control. Feedback, you know, it's echo level. There is no time. That's the because with the old units there was not a time. But you can adjust this Wow Flutter. So this sounds like a new machine, and this all the way up. To me, that's a pretty authentic, Wow Flutter. This is pretty authentic. What happens when the tape moves around and is not perfectly in pitch? This is what we heard. And for instance, here on the Replex, I'm very proud of that flutter. Without it, sounds like this. All the way up. Yeah, so this is so important when it comes to tape delays, in my opinion. Here I have a Tapex 2 from, what's the company? I don't know, Mr. Black. Let's check that out. It's number 2 maybe? Versus the Replex. So in my opinion, the preamp is giving you this extra warmth and dimension, and then the rest is also pretty good. I still like that. Anyway, this was the Tapex in comparison. It's not bad. So I have another one here, and I think that one I didn't like that much. Let's, especially the, wait a minute, especially the modulation. Let me show you why. Send is in. Hey, by the way, if you want that pedal here, the Tapex 2, this was given by Frank Post from Looper's Paradise, Saarbrücken, the boutique pedal shop, my friend. Check out our Pedalicious episodes with all kinds of pedals that he has in its shop. That's pretty cool. This one is the EM3 multi-head. Ah, multi-head. Okay, we have a... Wait a minute, why is the... So let me show you this kind of flutter control here on this. I mean, okay, no tape flutter in the middle, and then I have like two options, one to the right. It's okay if I don't use it that much. Let me show you what happens when I increase it. When you compare this to what happened with the real tapes, the patterns of the modulation is not like it's more like it is different, and you know, in this pedal they are not authentic. That's my opinion. It's okay if you just have a touch of that kind of wow and flutter with this one. In the Collins, I think it sounds pretty authentic. So this was what I liked about this pedal. Unfortunately, the Hall and Collins is also discontinued, and it's not available anymore. Very, very special pedal. But hey, something weird about delay pedals. If you spend too much time on delay pedals, you probably go bankrupt, because Fulltone also went bankrupt. You know, they have great pedals. I have tons of Uni vibes and Deja vibes and whatnot, and overdrive pedals by Fulltone. And this one, I mean, it's a masterpiece, because it's so hard to get mechanical stuff working today in the perfection of the 50s. I mean, this is using technology of the 50s in the 21st century, and it's so hard to get this kind of stuff. So they have done the real authentic thing, and it's respect, tons of respect. But it's like, maybe it's not a clever thing to do in business, because they went out of business. And I can imagine one of the reasons is because don't try to make that kind of stuff today, because it's it's too expensive to manufacture. Unfortunately, times have changed. Okay, anyway, anything in the chat? We have more echoes if you are into that. We have spam again, but I love the Ventures. Yeah, cool. That Hall & Collins thing is bigger than Amp1. Yes, it is. But it's a good echo. I mean, most of the tape echoes are way bigger than Amp1. I see 18 cables from here. Well, yeah, 16 plus 2 plus some more. Ah, fuck, man, it's unbelievable. The thing that we also can check out is what, you know what? Let me show you my echo chord, my Dynacord. Maybe is, can I get it to work? Yeah, let's make it work. Okay, I switch this thing off. Yep, and instead of that beautiful output is here, input is here. So let's see, how can I switch this on? Okay, it needs to be here. And this is now on loop 7. For some reason, maybe it doesn't like the looper. Let me see. Okay. Not long enough, scheiße. Okay, we are done with the Watkins, with the Copycat, with the REM. So I use that cable then. Bingo. And that goes here, and that goes there. I'm sure there's hundreds of... Oh yeah. Ground loops and shit going on. So let me see, the guitar goes into here. Come on. Okay, this Dynacord Echocord Super. First, I like the magic eye. Look at this. And it's all tube. And listen to the preamp. I use the preamp as a boost. Killer. This is, by the way, the clean channel now on amp 1 with the boost on, and then boosted with the echo chord. Okay, here we have a few sounds. This is like 3 heads. Anyway, I love the preamp of this one. The echoes are also okay, but as you can hear, very noisy, la 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 la. But that's for my collection, and yeah. So what can we learn? There is the 2 tape echoes are already different, even if they are the same production. And it's so hard to find 2 from the same even year to sound the same. They wear out, and the mechanical things let them sound different. And then, of course, all these parts, they need maintenance and stuff. So for me, it's so hard to find units in good condition that you would actually use. And it's like an old timer. If you have such a car, you need to be a technician that knows how to clean whatever, all the parts before you take your Sunday ride. And that's something that I learned with all these tape echoes here too. I could find, you know, the invoice for the repair session of that one and blah blah blah. They're all not in perfect condition. There's one more that I can show you, which is a Japanese one. Maybe I unplug this one, and then I think we had enough of these to get the impression of what's going on with tape echoes. Ugh. La 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 la. So Evans or Evans, whatever that brand is called, and we need. Oh, you know what? I take this 2 cables from this one. Everything messed up anyhow. So where is the output? Output 1. Input mic. We have high guitar. Let's check what happened. Ah, this is the good one. Echoplex style with the movable playback head. Okay, it's doing its thing, but compared to the tube one, I miss that kind of juiciness in the tone. Hey, to kind of sum it up, what I learned is preamps are so important, because that's, to me, 50% of the overall character of that unit. It kind of brings you in a certain territory. And then the next thing is the amount of heads and multi-head functions, if you need those. And then with the heads, it comes to the sound of the tape, to the saturation of the tape, and the mechanical wear, which is the flutter effect. And this is so different from unit to unit, from manufacturer. There is so many options, and this is what I learned, and that we will reflect in our model that we create for the Amp X, because I'm all in for tape delays. Okie doke. Let me see the questions here. The HX Stomp has already 40 delays. Reliable, flexible, programmable. Yeah. When it comes to reliable products, I think you need something modern. And, you know, I have this little flashback by TC. Maybe the magic is missing, and you can pimp them a little bit with a whatever tube style preamp, what I showed you last time, with this light speed boost, something subtle, tube-like, to get a bit of extra magic, to enhance the overall tone, and then get something that has a nice repeat flutter pattern. And there's so many options. I don't have a single favorite for everything. I have found a few, you know, like this Hall & Collins signature echo. It's probably the best multi-head thing when it comes to the Hank Marvin era tones. but it's kind of lacking the preamp thing, and it's lacking the convenience of simply the factor time. You know, it's not like they did the first generation of multi-head tape echoes, and this is what this thing is good for, but it doesn't have the other functions. So yeah, it's a complex thing. Yeah, I see a few comments here. Donny the boss, what? Donny the boss. I have a Fulltone full drive too. MOSFET, great pedal, yes. Hardy O, Thomas, did you ever try the Echoplex EFX2 tape echo? No, not yet. I tried to get as many tape echoes as possible within the last weeks, but this is how far we are at this point. Somebody asked the standard question: how far is AmpX? We are working on it, and as you can see, we spent another week with tape echoes just to get a understanding. So we do something with AmpX, so we are ready to do some tape echo things with all the nuances in the future. And it starts with understanding what's going on. So it's actually more than just, oh, we have one algorithm and then we go home and it's finished and then we release AmpX. No, we have to think before we do an algorithm, because we want to create several units with that algorithm, and that therefore we have to understand the whole dimension of how long do they need to be, how many heads do we need to have, how is Flutter different from one to the other unit, what is important with the preamps and all that stuff. And this takes time, and this is why we are still in phase development with AmpX. Okay, digital is the way for time-based effects. Yes, I agree. But the thing is, time-based effects, the preamps, you can do stuff digitally nicely as well, but I'm preferring the analog, and this is what we will do for the AmpX. Analog preamps of the tape delays and the digital things as they should be, as close as possible. Can you recommend a noise-free delay pedal? Most of the pedals making noise in operation mode, yes. The echo effect is combined with noise hum. Well, if you have one of those more modern pedals like these, they are pretty clean. If you have like an old analog delay, like, you know, this Ibanez here or some other bucket bridge delay type delays, they tend to be noisy. Also, this Space Echo of Boss, the RA2 that I had, is pretty clean. And I have a few exceptions that I really like. Let me show you some cheapos. This little X-Wife pedal is called the V5. Is it? Yeah, well, I put the Velcro underneath. But this pedal has some. Oh, okay. This pedal has something that I like. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, this is output. This is input. And we need some power. You know what? I put it here and I use the one from the DD2. Or maybe there's another. Yeah, come on. I use this one. So now this pedal is in front of my amp. And that's always a some noise coming from the... So I'm using this pedal, guitar, pedal input, pedal output, amp, in front of the amp. And as you can hear, the pedal is pretty clean, especially when I'm here on a low setting with the guitar, which is a critical situation. So I'm like on 2 or 3 with my overdrive channel. This is my vintage channel. Yeah, so there's a lot of good things about that pedal. The way that the repeats kind of thinnen out in a way, it's great. It's analog. It doesn't have any modulation, unfortunately. They do have another pedal. It's called the Echo Man, which is... It's a rip-off of the Memory Man. And this one has modulation, I can show you. On the other hand, it's not 100% the same. And here you can hear, this is real bucket bridge delay, because the longer the time, the more the frequency range is limited. So if you have a short delay, it's kind of more hi-fi, more high-end. Let me show you. Okay, but now I make the time long, like 600 milliseconds. And you can hear the noise, and you can hear how the repeats kind of get dull. But that's a natural thing for bucket bridge delays. Okay? So, what can I recommend? Clean delays should be digital, unfortunately. Yeah, let's listen to this long enough. Flashback, a classic. TC Electronics, mono in. And there are even tone prints. And I think I have my own tone print in there as well. Let me give you a feedback. Okay, I designed this tone print. This is my own tone print, but for the effects loop. Now let's switch to tape to see what they offer in a tape setting. Yeah, I think we heard some more tape today. maybe they have better ones by now because I didn't update the whole thing, but this says tape. It sounds warm, but there is no magic with it. I think there's a next generation of these, which is a lot better. Or this one, which was Mr. Black, handmade from Portland, USA. I believe it's expensive, but somebody spent some time. Okay, any more questions? NDD. Wait a minute, welches Echo ist dein Lieblingsklang für zu Hause? Oh, my favorite Echo for home. To be honest, I kind of like that Echo, but there is a big faulty with this Echo. The dry signal is, how you describe it? The dry signal is not in phase, which means when you use this in your effects loop and you put the amp 1 in parallel mode, the dry signal is cancelled out. That's something this pedal is actually doing. There's other pedals on the market that do the same shit. It doesn't matter if you have it in front and have like 100% of the signal going through it, then it's fantastic. When you have it in the effects loop, you have to use it on serial. That's the issue with this pedal. So there's always something somewhere. But that's, as you could hear, I use this on my pedal board in front of the amp. And when I have it in the effects loop, I use it in the serial mode. And it's fine because the mix of the signal is done in the analog domain. So it's no problem. Okay, wie viel Strom wird der Amp X brauchen? Aha, German question. Habe gerade die Lust auf große Stromfresser verloren. Bei meiner letzten Abrechnung wird es eine Möglichkeit geben, die Leistung zu reduzieren. Okay, I have to translate this question. It's kind of the last one. 2KA asks, how much current will Amp X draw? He just hates devices that demand a lot of current, a lot of power, because his last invoice for electricity was a bit high. I mean, this is, this is our new reality after the big war. The prices go up like crazy. And then he asked, wird es eine Möglichkeit geben, die Leistung zu reduzieren? He asked, is there an option to reduce the power? So guys, thanks. This is a very good question. Our amp is only taking, and this is the same for Amp X and for Amp 1, is only using that much power that you actually convert into volume. So if you play at home, the whole thing is whatever, 10 watts, 15, 20 watts, very, very little. Just like a light bulb, but not an old light bulb, like a modern light bulb. It is so efficient because our power amp and our power supply, there's only one tube that needs heat. This is actually where most of the power goes, because heat is where the power goes. And the other factor is the sheer volume that you produce with the power amp stage. And depending on the volume, it is like nothing, because that's the advantage of our power amp design here. It's the most efficient. So you don't need to have something to reduce the power consumption, because the power consumption with this amp by nature is minimalized to maximum. I mean, only 100% Class D transistor combination would suck less power. But this is a tenth of a tube amp, of a old school tube amp. Because these things, they have whatever, already 100 watts power consumption at least, just because you switch on the tubes and the tubes need the heating. And there's whatever, 4 power amp tubes, 3 preamp tubes. So there's a lot of, this is kind of your heater already. And this is kind of expensive these days. That's why they're all switched off now. Ho, ho, ho. No, anyway. And this is kind of, you know, times are changing, not only because of the electricity bill, no, because of reliability, because of what really works in today's situation. And that's something, yeah, there's this guy, we talked about it in the last episode a little bit, what is his name? Jim Lill. You know, we talked about the guy that kind of discovered, oh, the tone of a guitar and where is it coming from? And he kind of says, it has nothing to do with tubes and bias and nothing to do with blah, blah, blah. So his headline is kind of, it's only the tone stack and the amount of overdrive. And on the one hand, this is kind of a very rough statement that I think is good in contrast of against all the nerdy stuff that, you know, is it cathode biased or fixed biased or blah, blah, blah. Is it using the KT blah, blah, blah tube? Where is it coming from? So this guy goes, okay, wait a minute, guys. This is all a lot of talk for how many percent? And I was watching this video again and I thought I will do a reaction live stream next week on that topic. Why? On the one hand, I really like what he has achieved because he has proven that the major factor is not what people talk about. The major factor is something else. But I want to add my experience because where he is now with his video, I have been 20 years ago. Okay, guys? I have done transistor amps 30 years ago. And I know it's not 100% true what he's saying. I like the fact that he is kind of demystifying certain things and putting things in a different corner or importance. I mean, we can talk for ages about one thing and it's maybe 5%. Since I'm about 100% or 110% even, I'm about boutique. I do care even about the very last percent. I fight for everything. This is why I have special cable and the 61 Strat and all that stuff. And this guy, by the way, was proven that even the body wood of a guitar doesn't make any difference, which I tell you, I believe it's bullshit. On the other hand, he has shown that the pickup is so important, and he has shown some things, and this kind of gives you an angle to have a fresh angle to look at things and maybe think, wait a minute, do we have to repeat all the old school blah blah? Is it really true, or maybe it's time to put it to a test? And that's the aspect that I really like about his amplifier video and the other videos as well. But there are certain things I have to say, wait a minute, guys. I know what he's saying, but here's my experience, and I will show something. So this is coming up next week, which I think is also interesting. I was kind of inspired by watching this and had a good smile on my face all the time. Okay, I read a few more comments here. My tube amp also makes my chamber warm and cozy. Yes. Hey, have you ever worked in the studio with a good old mixing console? Um, some of the rooms had to be climatized back in the days when I was a session guy because it went too warm in these rooms. You know, like a SSL, whatever, Neve, 100 channels, and there was a lot of heat. That's why the cat always was lying on top of the mixing console, because it was so nice and warm. Anyway, okay. Stephen Weilhardt, while my guitar 2 delays long, short, at all times on. With my guitar, 2 delays. Ah, okay. Yes, I also use 2 delays. I have one in front of my amp and I have one in the effects loop, which I like. Because the one in the effects loop is the same like, what was this? Steve Weilhardt. It's the always on delay that just gives me like a little space, a little room kind of thing. A third dimension to the tone. And then the delay in front of the amp, that's the delay that you actually hear as a delay. I do the rhythmic YouTube stuff with it, or I do what you heard at the intro song with that delay, which is in front of the amp. Somebody is a bit late, no worries. Okay, 2KA, danke für die Antwort. Dann macht der 50 Watt Mode im Mercury noch mehr Sinn. Yeah, but hey, don't worry about the 50 watt mode. You know how fucking loud the 50 watts are. At home, you are probably at 2 watts, and all you have to do is nothing. You just, if you play an amp 1 or an amp X, we should actually measure what the power consumption is at home use. It's super, super low. So don't worry. This is the most efficient way to get the tube tone. The only way to get less heat would be something with Class D transistor only. But something in the sound will be missing. Therefore, I think this is, amp 1 is, yeah, it's the latest technology and it's most efficient in many aspects. And it is about tone, but it's also about energy efficiency, because we can be efficient. Okay. No more questions. That's cool. If we don't have any questions, do you still offer the amp 1 weeks? Mr. Blue asks. Actually, we stopped it, but I thought the amp 1 weeks were a good thing. The amp 1 weeks were the option that we sent you an amp 1 at home and you can try it out. And you actually can ask us, sometimes even myself, if you do have any questions about it. Like when you play it and then, try to find a certain sound that you can't find. Or it's good to have an amp 1 in your hands, to feel it, to play it. And then we can help you to get it to the point where you can actually really decide if it is the product that makes you happy or not. Let me talk to my colleagues. I think we should do another round of amp 1 weeks. It's not on currently, but I believe we should do that again. Maybe before Christmas or something like that. Have a nice theme. The amp 1 Christmas weeks or something like this. Because most people are at home, at the time between Christmas and New Year's, and then they have time to check out gear, and that would be a good thing. Okay, thanks for the hint. Mr. Blue, so to check out amp 1 at home. Yeah, sure, that's the thing. Giphy Marauder. Okay, sadly amp 1 and amp X can't be exchanged for heating in winter times. Yeah. Hey, if you want a heater, get a heater. But hey, have you heard about the thing about what is it, the blackout, or when the power grid will break down maybe this winter because people bought too many of the electrical heaters because the gas prices are too high? For me, this all is, I mean, on the one hand it's funny, and on the other hand it's not funny. My uncle used to be in the business, and he just retired this year, and my uncle was managing the grid in Europe, which means like getting French power for an hour and then switch to whatever Scandinavian power, and then selling German power. And this whole system is connected Europe-wide. And even this summer we had some issues about the French couldn't have their nuclear power plants working because it was so hot and dry. There was not enough water in the rivers to cool down the reactors. So they had to reduce the production of electricity in France. So the Germans gave the French electricity in the summer, and now we get back the French nuclear produced electricity. So hey, it's all, and the whole thing is managed in seconds. It's a crazy system, but it works. And we might face some little issues, but on the other hand, hey, I think we didn't have any serious issues or problems the last decades. We grew up in a time where everything was kind of, always in order and faster and more of this and more power consumption and more flight tickets and more whatever, everything more. And now, the first time in my life, it's about, maybe we reached the limit and we have to find a solution for a critical situation. I'm ready. I'm prepared. I got my oven. I got my wood. I have electricity. I have everything. I have beer in the fridge. And if the fridge is not warm enough, the winter is coming. I put it behind, outside. There's a natural way for it. I'm ready for the challenge, guys. And I'm having fun with it. And by the way, my heating is not on. We are talking about mid of October and still there's no heating on. And what? No problem. But anyway, I have good windows as well. Back to the questions here. Seems you didn't get a Keeley Echoes pedal. No, sorry, I didn't get the Keeley one. Abenteuer Gitarre. I got my M1 during the test weeks. Now my Laney went into retirement. Thanks a lot, Thomas. Okay, somebody got an M1 and liked it. Okay, 2KA, ihr solltet den Stromverbrauch in den Specs veröffentlichen. Bin froh, dass ich gefragt habe. Yeah, okay, we should mention the power consumption in the specs. Of course, that depends on the volume you are playing at. That is because of our design. It is the energy that it puts out. It's the energy that it is consuming. So that's I don't know if there's a proper rating to make this, but let me see if we find something which is some serious data. Andy D, I'm safe. I run amp 1 with master at 8 with a 60 watt and a 50 watt cap in series. I want to feel like Jimmy in the rehearsal. Yes, if you have a 60 watt and a 50 watt in series, it is basically, well, in theory, 110 watts. Um, and the master at 8 is pretty loud, yes. Depending on the speakers, it's on the edge of torturing them, but I don't think you will fry them. It's just pretty loud. Here's a general recommendation. If you increase the volume on a speaker, there comes the point where it's just not getting really louder, where it's just compressing more, maybe barking a little bit more, but then it's turning into mud. I wouldn't turn a speaker, I would kind of take this compression moment as the limit. That for many reasons. One reason is otherwise, no matter what speaker brand it is, you can burn it, because if you don't hear the difference in volume anymore, you put in more and more power, and then it will, yeah, the coil will simply produce too much heat and will burn. But as long as the speaker still has, a little bit headroom in volume, it's totally safe, no matter what. So I have been playing greenbacks, 25 watt speakers with a 100 watt amp in the past, and I know where the point is. And it doesn't make any sense to crank it louder, because it's not getting any louder. It's just grilling the speaker, frying the coil, and that doesn't make any sense. So increase the volume and stop where it doesn't get any louder, where it's just squashing and compressing. That's the point where you should stop and maybe go back a little bit, and then you are safe. So for NDD, if that's the point at 8, go ahead. It seems to work. In theory, it could be it could be fine. I don't know the speakers exactly. If they are vintage 30s, a 60 watt could be vintage 30 and a 50 watt cap. I don't know what's 50 watt speaker. Anyway, if they're still alive, they will survive. Okay, Giffy Moroder again. Hey Thomas, with that background of your uncle, you might develop a pickup to produce power. So the amp can be run, but just playing very fast. Yeah. That was the flashback, by the way. Well, okay, I'm not going there. The energy is another topic. If I had another life, I would probably do something in that aspect. I find it fascinating. Okay, 2K, my UAFX amp verbraucht mehr Strom. Echt krass. Yeah, probably, yeah. There won't be an AOT stream without electricity. That's right, Hardy. No electricity, no live stream. But if you compare the technology of today with like LED light panels that we have, amps like that, it is not much. And I think it's pretty effective these days. I mean, of course, our laptop produces some heat, but hey, you know, we do it for a good reason, so you guys can watch it, and it's like we don't have a special server room or whatever. So no worries, all good. Somebody says two greenbacks, officially 50 watt, but they're pretty loud. Two greenbacks and a vintage 30. Yeah, that's already that's a lot of speakers. They can handle it. 8, yeah. Helmut Guitar. I was on the road with Armand Deux as their roadie from 1970 okay, 77 to 79, and Chris Kettner had a copycat that mainly survived because of massive abuse. Gaffer tape, yeah. Well, gaffer tape is duct tape for the Americans, I think. Okay. Thomas, hence I wasn't here from the beginning. Did you find out which echo was used by Brian May? Fuck, I forgot about it. If some guys know it, put it as a comment under this stream. Yeah, I have to find out myself as well. But I think it was one of those Echoplexes. Why? Because they had a pretty long time, and Brian May used 800 and 1600 milliseconds. And this is what you get from these units, and not from those with the multi-heads, because they kind of, the multi-head units, they have this kind of echo-y thing going on, and not this long 800, 1600 milliseconds. So I guess Echoplex by 2. That's what it's my guess. Mr. Blue, are you able to play fingerstyle? Oh, I'm sucking when it's gonna. Well, is this fingerstyle? I mean, I'm not using a pick for the. I'm lousy. I'm a lousy fingerstyle player. You know, this is it's. I can strum a little bit, and I have 1 or 2 patterns. So. Yeah, that's my comment about fingerstyle. Okay, guys, I think this was a nice round of questions. To finish this episode here, we have a little video clip from me with the Deep Purple guys from, I think it was 2006. Do we have that picture that was taken after the gig with Ian Pace and Don Airy, and the bass player is Elvin Mills, and the guy next to the black guy was one of the fans that wanted to be in the picture, and we were missing Thijs van Leer, and this gig was a very, very special gig for me because Don Airy wanted to be. We wanted to do a band, Don and myself. We wanted to do the Thomas Blug band. And then he got into Deep Purple. Good for him. And I had to find a different keyboard player, organ player. And I ended up with Thijs van Leer, as some of you guys might know, from the band Focus. And then we had this one little jam with there's a few things on the internet. You type in Thomas Blug and Ian Pace and Don Airy, and then you will find some snippets. And we show you one here, which is yeah, what happened, which shows Don a little bit. So enjoy our little gem for the outro, and see you next week for my reaction video on where is the tone in guitar amps coming from. Quite interesting what this gentleman from Nashville is saying, and there's more. So be prepared, and maybe you have some questions, yeah, for next week as well. Oh, Don Airy would have been a very famous keyboard player in your band. My microphone is gone. Anyway, we come to the end now. Yeah, Don Airy is a killer player, and he is still that kind of passionate about his playing. You know, he's like a professor. He has to do it right, and he takes his time to rehearse even more than myself. Unbelievable. I'm just a fan. Okay, guys. Thanks for watching. Enjoy this little clip. See you all next week with more tech talks and maybe practical examples that I will hopefully shed some light into the new thoughts that I have seen with this guy. It's great. I'll have some fun. Cheers, guys. Enjoy. See you next week.
Thank you.